Hey guys, thank you so much for scooting on over here to the awesome Padron show. We just saw Doctor Strange. I forgot what it's called for a second.
Oh my goodness.
I was about to say Midnight Mass.
You almost said that earlier tonight.
Yeah,
Or something else.
We just saw Midnight Mass. It's completely different. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. We just saw that. I do want to just start this off by saying this is like one of the most Raimi movies. This is honestly this is a Sam Raimi movie.
Yeah.
And I mainly want to start that off by saying, if you don't know anything about Sam Raimi, if you don't know his directorial style, you should really look into it because he has a certain flair that could turn some people off.
Right, yeah. His filmmaking style is very distinct.
Yeah.
Like, I would highly recommend watching Evil Dead
Or Drag Me to Hell.
Yeah, some of his other horror movies before you go see this.
And if you think that you know Sam Raimi because you watch the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies, the only thing that was even reminiscent of Sam Raimi, and that was like the hospital scene in Spider-Man 2.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's the only thing I can think of that was like, really, this is Sam Raimi.
Yeah.
Like,
and the campiness a little bit, but but most of it you can find it a lot more in his horror movies.
Yeah, exactly. And so if you don't know his filmmaking style, I'd recommend you at least kind of look into it so you kind of know what you're getting yourself in for. I also say that because if you don't like Sam Raimi's directing style, don't expect this to feel like a regular Marvel movie because this is one of the most, if not the most unique MCU movie I've seen.
Yeah, for sure. As far as the filmmaking goes, at least, it's definitely, like you said, one of the most unique feeling Marvel movies. It really did feel like a Sam Raimi movie more than it felt like an MCU movie, which I was actually honestly excited for how much freedom it seemed that Sam Raimi got as far as putting his style into this movie.
Yeah.
I knew like at the beginning there's like a fight scene with like a giant octopus and like there's a quick like zoom in that was like full on Sam Raimi. It was like a zoom in into America Chavez's face.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, this is gonna have a lot of Raimi-isms in it.
And what I like a lot is it seems like Marvel is starting to do that a lot more because I know in the past they've had a few directors and there's been talks in the past of MCU and Marvel not having, giving the directors the best freedom, the most freedom. And one of the most prominent examples of that was Edgar Wright with Ant-Man, and he left because of creative differences. Pretty much probably meaning they were wanting something obviously quite a bit different than his normal stuff. Yeah. But it seems like ever since about like, even though I wasn't the biggest fan of it, actually, no, we can go more back towards about, you've had a few other ones like Guardians of the Galaxy and stuff like that, but it's mainly been a lot more obvious since about Thor Ragnarok. Right. As much as I don't really love the style of that movie, I think it's too many jokes, it's too lighthearted, too comedic. Ever since that movie, it seems like they've been really geared towards like finding directors with like really obvious directorial styles, like Taika Waititi, Chloe Zhao
with the Eternals.
Yeah, with the Eternals, and then now we have Sam Raimi, and those three especially. And I'm trying to think if there's other ones that did it pretty well, but those three especially they obviously were given their freedom. And I think a lot of people might have not understood that, and we did talk about Eternals. I really liked Eternals a lot. A lot of people might have not seen Chloe Zhao's other work, and I'm not gonna act like I've seen a lot of Chloe Zhao's other work, but like if you watch like Nomadland, you would kind of understand what it's doing. But you can kind of understand and get ready for the directorial style. Right. And like I said, this movie right here, I was really happy with how much freedom it looked like Sam Raimi had. It looked like he really enjoyed working on this because he went like all in with a lot of this.
Especially like the horror elements, which I really love the horror elements. I'm not going to say it was like as like bonkers as like the Evil Dead is. With how crazy it got, but it really pushed the boundaries of PG-13, honestly.
There's a few scenes that like are especially that, There's especially one scene that's really not that kid friendly. So if you're bringing your kids to this, there's this one scene that it's like the one scene is like, okay, this really kind of pushed it. Yeah. It's like, especially Marvel. Like Marvel, they do have a lot of violence in them, but there's one scene that was like a lot more descriptively violent.
Oh yeah, right.
Than most fight scenes in Marvel are.
Yeah, for sure.
And I don't know if, I mean, once you watch it, it'll make sense what I mean by descriptively violent. Like, it's not just like punches and stuff like that. So,
right.
You know, but I really did like those scenes a lot. This movie was kind of creepy at times. And, you know, Sam Raimi really put his flair into those scenes as well.
Yeah, for sure.
And adding on to Sam Raimi's directing style and also just the writing in general, I do think this movie takes some pretty large risks that are completely unexpected. So that's one thing I really do want to praise this movie for. I love whenever movies take risks, but not only take risks, but they actually just like work.
Oh,
you know, like it's something like, if you were to tell me that this movie was going to do that, I'd be like, I don't really like that. But whenever it did it, I was like, I like that, you know?
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah, and so I that's one thing I can really praise this movie for, is the risks that it take and the actual like execution of those risks.
Right, yeah, and I just really love that about like the Phase 4 so far, or at least the last few things that we've gotten, is that Marvel is giving us, between like this and like Moon Knight, which we are going to do a review for pretty soon. It's really nice that Marvel is giving us content that feels really fresh and unique. Like, you honestly, those people who say that Marvel follows a formula or feels like cookie cutter movies really can't say that about Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness or Moon Knight.
Yeah.
Which is exciting.
Yeah. Or just some other movies that came out in the other phases, like Civil War.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Right. And another thing I feel like is really important for you going into the movie, if you haven't seen it yet, is knowing that this, more than pretty much most other MCU movies, probably all the other Marvel movies, in my opinion, you have to have seen all the movies that led up to this movie.
Yeah.
Because it kind of jumps right into the story like really quickly. It truly felt like, obviously all the MCU movies are like episodes in a show to where they play into what's happened before it. But this, more than a lot of the other Marvel movies, felt like an episode of a TV series where it took the setup from the previous movies and just jumped right into it without a lot of setup at the beginning. So like, if you haven't seen, like, honestly, the first Doctor Strange movie, pretty much any movie that Wanda has been in, especially Infinity War, Endgame, and WandaVision, Loki, honestly, to just kind of get a feel of the multiverse and get a grasp of the concept.
Spider-Man No Way Home, I think, is decently important.
Right, yeah. And
it's not extremely important, but it's kind of important.
It's kind of like the start of the multiverse, or at least to the general public.
Yeah.
And then what if episode 4 isn't necessarily important to this movie, but it really made me care for Doctor Strange and Christine's relationship a lot more than the first Doctor Strange movie did.
Yeah.
So it's kind of important, especially for this movie, for you to feel that connection between them. So those honestly are like the ones you have to have seen, especially WandaVision.
Yeah, WandaVision is probably one of the most important ones. Probably the most important ones. I will say this, you know, and I wouldn't recommend this, but at the very least, you need to know very descriptively what happened in all of those. I'll say watch them if you can, because it's hard to like get an emotional attachment to like summaries, you know, but like obviously there's a lot of stuff to watch. So if you haven't watched them, then just like make sure you know. But like if I were to say to watch once for sure, try your best to watch WandaVision,
right?
Because WandaVision is really important to this. Even though I don't love the last episode. But that being said, I do want to jump into that a little bit. I don't want to say anything to this, but I will say that if you watched videos about WandaVision, we loved it all the way up until the very last episode, which we didn't like almost at all. Well, I want to say almost at all, but there's like a few very minor things we're like, okay, but overall it was like just very rushed and needed another episode. It played it really safe,
right?
Just to name a few things. And I won't say that this movie really solved a lot of that, but like all of it. But it definitely, there's a few things that kind of fixed a little bit for me. That kind of made me a little bit more okay with the last episode. Yeah. But not like entirely.
Right, yeah. Just fixed it just a little bit. I wouldn't even say it fixed it a lot, but it fixed it a little bit with how they did Wanda's character in this show. Or this movie. And that kind of honestly leads me to my next point. And this is kind of a mild spoiler. It's not necessarily a spoiler. I knew it going into it. I mean, if you want to skip it, if you don't want any kind of spoilers, you can skip to this timestamp. But I knew this going into it, and it kind of helped me enjoy the movie more. And it's the fact that don't expect a lot of cameos in this movie. There's a lot of rumors and speculation going into this movie that there's going to be a whole bunch of cameos from a whole bunch of different universes in this movie. And that was really all it was, just rumors.
Yeah.
That fans just came out of nowhere. Like, the studio never promised a lot of cameos or anything.
Yeah.
It's just fans wanting it to happen. And so, like, there's not that many cameos in this. There are a few really fun ones, honestly. I mean, a lot of them were spoiled in the trailer already, but there were still a few more that weren't shown in the trailers or the promos that were still really exciting to see. Mm-hmm. But it goes back to WandaVision, the last episode of WandaVision, how there's a lot of fan theories and speculation going into the finale of WandaVision, and none of those really panned out in the finale. And we hated it, but not because it didn't go the fan theory route or the speculation route. We even said in our video for the finale for WandaVision that if it would have been good, we could have overlooked it not going the route of the fan theories.
Yeah.
Because, like, this movie, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, it didn't follow a lot of the fan theories. Like, a lot of the cameos that people were theorizing were going to be in this movie weren't in the movie. But it still was a good movie, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I can overlook that because I still really, really enjoyed the movie as a whole. I enjoyed the story. I enjoyed pretty much every second of it.
And honestly, Benedict Cumberbatch did really good in this movie as well. Benedict Cumberbatch is just a good actor in general. There's just something I love about him as Doctor Strange. I was not a huge fan of the Doctor Strange character almost up until this movie. Well, like, I think his character is cool and interesting, but he came off as like an actual like complete douche.
Yeah.
But like kind of like an unlikable douche, you know?
Yeah.
Like I don't know, that sounds weird, but like it's not like a likable like.
Yeah, Tony Stark is kind of a likable douche.
Yeah, he's kind of like a likable douche.
But then Doctor Strange is the opposite of that.
Yeah, because I remember in Doctor Strange, the first one, they tried so hard to make him like really weirdly unlikable for some reason. Like whenever he was like going through like therapy. When he's like, well, tell me, bachelor's degree.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, dude, what? Why would you call him that at all?
Right.
Like I'd like, what kind of human just calls someone bachelor's degree? And I always felt that was kind of weird. They kind of made him just like kind of douchey for like no reason, and like I said, like no charm. But obviously, this movie kind of shows what his character has grown into. And he plays it off really well. He plays off a lot of the emotional aspects really well. And like you said earlier, not only does episode 4 of What If help out with that, but I do really feel like this movie really displays that connection between Doctor Strange and Christine really well.
Right.
Just how much Doctor Strange actually does care for her. And I thought they did that really well. Another thing probably like a really big praise for this movie is just really fun. We haven't really said that. Yeah. And I mean, obviously we love the directorial style, but there's just so many strange choices that just really work. And I'm like, it's so weird that I'm like, I would have never thought of that. Like it's so strange, like that they thought to do that. And it's so cool. Like there's just so many fun choices to do.
Yeah.
And so like overall, one of the biggest compliments I can get this movie is it's just fun. Yeah. It's really fun.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's a very, very fast paced movie. Like, kind of goes back to what I said earlier, how it just jumps into the story pretty quickly. The whole movie, honestly, feels very fast paced. Yeah. Honestly, I was really scared when they before the movie came out, when they announced that the movie is only going to be 2 hours and 6 minutes. Yeah. I was really scared because I was hoping it wasn't going to be rushed or anything like that, and it honestly felt longer than 2 hours and 6 minutes in the best way possible. They really used the runtime really efficiently.
Yeah, which I will say, in a sense, kind of brings me to probably my biggest complaint of the whole movie, because I don't really have necessarily a lot of like big complaints, but if I had to pick one really big one, is I felt like at certain, especially in the beginning, I feel like this movie could have had about another 10 or 20 minutes added to it, right, and benefited from that, especially in the beginning, in certain parts, because it does feel like the pacing's a little weird at the beginning. Yeah,
especially. Well, I mean, I don't want to go too much into spoilers, but there's a character that's introduced, and they showed her at the very first scene of the movie, and then like it kind of I don't know how to explain without going into spoilers, but like it just really felt really rushed when she actually came into the movie.
Yeah,
like the beginning was kind of like this sequence, and then like something else happened, and then she showed up again.
Yeah,
it just felt a little bit rushed.
Yeah,
but it wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
It didn't ruin the beginning for me or anything.
Yeah, the beginning was probably the biggest part of it. Was like you could tell that they probably cut some things out and couldn't really figure out how to put them together that well. But it wasn't like bad. It wasn't really bad, and so that's probably my biggest complaint. My other complaint is there's kind of weird, very minor film editing choices. They're kind of strange. They're kind of jarring. One example I can think of. I don't necessarily think this is a spoiler. I'm not going to name names or anything like that. I just want to say it. And honestly,
except for Doctor Strange.
Yeah, yeah, except for Doctor Strange. So the Doctor Strange and this character are fighting, and it's a character that's in both universes. And at the end of it, the character's like, I can see why me and your universe didn't like you or something like that. But whenever he starts that sentence, Doctor Strange is right in front of him looking at him.
Yeah, just standing there.
But whenever he ends it, it cuts and Doctor Strange is running away.
Right. He's already like almost out the door.
He's almost like way out. And
it's almost like a Batman scene, but they cut to Batman right before he runs out the door.
and like I said, it's kind of there's a few things like that. But that was probably one of the biggest ones I could remember because it is a little jarring. But yeah, those are the two main things. It's just the pacing, and there was a few, like I said, just a few strange editing choices that I think could have been done a little better, made it feel a little bit smoother. We are gonna say that Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is 88% awesome. Well, guys, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also, comment. Let us know what you thought about Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Which one you like better between the first Doctor Strange and this one.
Yeah, and don't forget to follow us on social media. We have Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. The TikTok is the Awesome Padron Show. We still need to change our Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Yeah, those are still at 2 Awesome Men.
Which honestly, the Facebook I'm thinking about just getting rid of because I don't like it doesn't really get that much traction anyways.
Right.
And guys, thank you so much for watching, and you will see us later.